I moved from America to Denmark. I remember the exact moment I decided to leave America. It wasn't dramatic. No fight. No breakdown. Just silence. I was standing in my kitchen, staring at a house I worked years to afford, and suddenly I realized something terrifying. This life looked perfect. But it didn't feel like mine. From the outside, everything was right. A steady job. A clean home. A car in the driveway. A family that looked united in photos. But inside me, something had been empty for a long time. I didn't wake up excited anymore. I didn't feel curious. I didn't feel alive. That's when Denmark entered my life. At first, it was just an idea. A country I read about late at night when I couldn't sleep. A place people described as quiet. Safe. Balanced. A place where life moved slower. I didn't tell anyone right away. Not even my family. Because deep down, I already knew how they would react. When I finally said the words out loud. I'm moving to Denmark. The room went completely still. My mother blinked like she didn't understand English anymore. Denmark, she repeated. As in Europe. Yes, I said. I've thought about it for a long time. My father leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. So you're throwing your life away? That sentence landed harder than he probably realized. I tried to explain. I told them I wasn't running away. That I wasn't chasing some fantasy. I told them I needed space. A reset. A chance to figure out who I was without everyone else's expectations sitting on my chest. My sister scoffed. This is selfish, she said. You have everything here. Everything. A word people use when they don't feel the emptiness you carry every day. They didn't ask why I felt this way. They didn't ask if I was scared. They didn't ask if I needed support. They treated my decision like a betrayal. From that day on, the atmosphere in the house changed. Conversations became short. Jokes disappeared. I started feeling like a guest in the home I grew up in. Still, I held on to one belief. No matter how much they disagreed, they were still my family. And family wouldn't hurt me. Before I left, I asked a simple favor. Can I leave some things here? I said carefully. Just until I get settled in Denmark. Things that mattered. Things that told the story of my life. My childhood photos. Old letters. Important documents. A small box of jewelry my grandmother gave me before she passed away. My mother smiled, a tight, polite smile. Of course, she said. This will always be your home. I believed her. 2 weeks later, I boarded a plane with one suitcase and a heart full of hope. I had no idea that while I was starting over in Denmark, my family was already deciding what would happen to everything I left behind. Denmark didn't welcome me with fireworks. It welcomed me with silence. A small apartment. White walls. Cold floors. A mattress on the ground and a single chair I bought second-hand. The first night, I sat on the floor eating instant noodles, listening to the rain hit the window, and told myself, this is what starting over feels like. It was lonely. But it was honest. For the first time in years, no one was watching me. No one was judging my choices. No one was reminding me who I should be. I walked everywhere. I learned the streets. I listened to a language I didn't understand yet. I felt small, but free. I called my family every few days at first. The conversations were strange. They asked practical questions. Did you find a job yet? How much does rent cost? When are you coming back? Never. Are you okay? Are you happy? Do you feel safe? Each call felt like a test I was failing. After a week, the calls got shorter. After 2 weeks, they felt forced. Then one evening, my sister called me instead of texting. That alone made my stomach drop. "Hey," she said, too casually. "So, what are you planning to do with your stuff?" "My stuff?" I asked. "The things you left at the house." I smiled, even though she couldn't see it. "Nothing right now. Mom said it was fine to keep them there." There was a pause. Then she said, "Well, things are changing here." My chest tightened. "What do you mean?" She sighed dramatically. "You left. Life goes on. The house can't be a storage unit forever." I laughed nervously. "It's only been a few weeks." "Exactly," she replied. "And already it's a problem." That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, replaying my mother's words in my head. "This will always be your home." The next day, I called my mom. She didn't answer. I called again. Straight to voicemail. I told myself she was busy. That I was overthinking. But a quiet fear had already started growing inside me. 3 days later, I received a message from my sister. Just one sentence. "We cleaned out your room." My hands started shaking. "What do you mean cleaned out?" I typed back immediately. Minutes passed. Then dots appeared. Then disappeared. Finally, she replied. "You weren't using that stuff anymore." I felt like the air had been punched out of my lungs. "What did you do with my things?" I asked. Her response came fast this time. "Relax. Some of it was donated. Some sold. Some thrown away." I sat down on the floor, my back against the wall. "Thrown away?" I whispered out loud. I called my mom again. This time, she answered. Her voice was calm. Almost annoyed. "You moved away," she said. "You can't expect us to hold onto your past forever." "My documents?" I asked. "My photos? Grandma's jewelry?" Another pause. Then she said something I will never forget. "If they mattered that much, you wouldn't have left them." That was the moment I realized something terrifying. I hadn't just moved to Denmark. I had made myself disposable. And I still didn't know the worst part yet. After that call, I didn't leave my apartment for 2 days. I sat on the floor, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes, trying to understand how everything had fallen apart so quickly. I kept telling myself there had to be a misunderstanding. That maybe my sister exaggerated. That my mother didn't really mean it. So I called my father. He answered on the 3rd ring. "Dad," I said. My voice was already breaking. "Why didn't anyone tell me you were getting rid of my things?" He sighed, like I was an inconvenience. "You chose to leave," he said. "We assumed you were starting a new life." I replied. "But that doesn't mean I stopped existing." There was a pause. Then he said. "We also had to make some practical decisions. My heart started pounding. What kind of decisions? The house, he said carefully. We refinanced. I didn't understand at first. Okay, and we needed collateral. The words felt slow. Heavy. What did you use? I asked. Another pause. Then he said it. Your savings account. I couldn't breathe. My what? You left us access, he replied. You trusted us. I remembered signing paperwork years ago. Back when family meant safety. Back when trust felt natural. You took my money. I whispered. We borrowed it, he corrected me. For the family. How much? I asked. He didn't answer right away. All of it, he finally said. I slid down the wall until I was sitting on the floor again. Every dollar I had saved. Emergency money. The safety net I thought I had while starting over. Gone. You didn't think to ask me. I said. You would have said no, he replied. He wasn't wrong. And now, he continued, you're in Denmark. You'll figure it out. Figure it out. As if survival was a personality trait. After we hung up, I stared at my bank app until the screen went dark. Zero didn't look real. It looked like a mistake. But it wasn't. That night, I cried harder than I ever had in America. Not because of the money. Not even because of the things they threw away. But because I finally understood something I had avoided my entire life. My family loved the version of me that stayed convenient. The version that was close. Available. Useful. The moment I chose myself, I stopped being protected. The next morning, I woke up to an email notification. Subject line, account access updated. I opened it with shaking hands. They had removed me. I was locked out of what little control I still thought I had. Sitting alone in that small Danish apartment, I realized the truth. I hadn't just lost my home in America. I had lost my family. And I still had no idea how I was going to survive here alone. The first thing panic takes from you is pride. I learned that in Denmark. I went from carefully planning my future to counting coins on my kitchen table, trying to figure out how many days I could eat. I stopped turning the lights on in the evening. Stopped using the heater unless my hands went numb. I walked everywhere, even when it rained, even when my shoes leaked. Every expense felt like a mistake. I looked for work everywhere. Cafes. Cleaning jobs. Warehouses. Places where language didn't matter as much as effort. Most places never replied. Some smiled politely and said, "We'll call you." They never did. One afternoon, I sat in a small park near my apartment, watching families walk by. Children laughing. Parents arguing softly in Danish. Normal life happening around me while mine felt frozen. That's when I did something I swore I'd never do. I called my mother. She answered immediately this time. "Mom," I said quietly. "I'm not okay." There was silence on the line. Then she said, "You chose this." I closed my eyes. "I just need help," I whispered. "Just until I find my footing." She exhaled slowly, like she was tired of me. "We can't keep saving you," she said. "You're an adult." I almost laughed. Saving me? They had taken everything I had left. When the call ended, I sat there for a long time, staring at my phone, waiting for the sadness to turn into something else. Anger. Strength. Anything. Instead, something quieter appeared. Clarity. That night, I wrote a list. Not of what I lost, but of what I still had. I was alive. I was healthy. I had made it to Denmark on my own. And for the first time, I added something new. I didn't owe them my future. The next morning, I swallowed my pride and walked into a small cafe I had passed dozens of times. I didn't ask if they were hiring. I asked if they needed help. The owner looked at me for a long second. Then he handed me an apron. "Tomorrow," he said. "Be here at 6. I cried in the bathroom after he walked away. Not because it was a dream job. Not because it paid well. But because for the first time since leaving America, someone saw me as useful, not disposable. That night, I fell asleep exhausted. But not empty. And while I didn't know it yet, the hardest part of the story was almost over. The cafe job didn't change my life overnight. It changed it quietly. Early mornings. The smell of coffee. Cold hands wrapped around warm cups. People who didn't know my past, and didn't need to. I learned Danish words one customer at a time. I saved coins in a jar instead of dreaming big. I stopped checking my bank app every hour. Slowly, something unfamiliar began to grow inside me. Stability. Months passed. I found a better job. Then a small room in a better apartment. Then friends who asked real questions, and listened to the answers. No one there knew what my family had done. They just knew me as someone who showed up. Who worked hard. Who didn't complain. One evening, after a long shift, my phone buzzed. My mother's name. I stared at it for a long time before answering. She sounded softer. "We heard you're doing okay," she said. "Your sister told us." I waited. "We didn't think you'd last," she added. There it was. Not an apology. Not regret. Just surprise. "I did," I said quietly. "And I will." She hesitated. "So, when are you coming home?" I looked around my apartment. The plants on the windowsill. The photos I had replaced with new memories. The life I built with nothing but stubbornness and survival. "I'm already home," I said. She didn't respond. We haven't spoken much since then. Sometimes I miss the idea of my family. The version of them I believed in. But I don't miss the fear. The guilt. The feeling that my life belonged to someone else. Denmark didn't save me. I saved myself here. And when I think about everything they took, my money, my things, my past, I realize something now. They couldn't take the one thing that mattered most. My future.